Happy Wealth Wednesday, Maggie. So excited to have you here. Another partner in crime in DeFi education, especially for women and non-binary folks. Would love if you would kick us off and give us a bit of a background of you and how you got to what you're doing today.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. Excited to speak with you and talk about my journey in crypto and DeFi and what I'm trying to accomplish alongside people like you and many other great initiatives. A bit about me. So I have been in the crypto scene since 2016, but at that time I was at IBM doing Watson in financial services stuff. Was in a meeting. This one guy kept talking about blockchain, and I was like, wow, like he won't stop talking about it. Like maybe I should go learn more about this thing. He seems like super excited. And I found someone on LinkedIn who'd went to a university with a bunch of my friends, asked my friend to introduce me to him. We got a coffee outside of the Consensus office in spring 2017. And then like I went into this Consensus office and it was like a flat in Bushwick and everybody was friendly and it was like the opposite of corporate America. And I was like, oh my gosh, I have to work here. Just like on kind of in a way, like when DeFi was coming out, I was like, oh, this is why I got into this space anyway, like this whole like financial empowerment piece, beyond just buying like tokens. And so I was wanting to get myself into it and talking to a friend at Consensus, and he'd mentioned a bunch of the men that did the NCAA bracket, which is the basketball game, where they all put money in a pot and they choose a team to win, and whoever team wins, they get the money. And all the men had put all the holdings into Compound until the bracket was over, because they realized like they were going to lose that money anyway, likely. So like if Compound had a bug, it's like early Compound days, like big deal, only one person was getting the money anyway. And this didn't come up in the context of SheFi, but I was like, that's a genius idea. Like find a way to get people comfortable playing with money or like taking a risk with money that they're not going to get back. And I thought of the name SheFi, and I was like, oh shoot, I really have to do this now. So just decided like kind of put together like my initial pitch on it and what I wanted to do, which was just like get women experimenting with money and like being okay, like losing a bit of money and finding a way to, it's evolved a lot. So even that initial model is not great, but it was just like, maybe at the end of the cohort, we all donate money to like an organization that also empowers women because you weren't going to get the money back anyway. So maybe now you'll put it in a DeFi protocol. And I just took it upon myself to kind of like sketch out. And this is back in the day, there was like Maker, Compound, Instadapp. There was like 4 DeFi protocols. So I was like, easy. And just started, creating content. And then I just wanted to make sure that people knew there were options, and especially women, that there's more options. And I have this great insight and knowledge of this whole network. And I always want to give whatever I have access to. Like I want to think about how I can give it to other people. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to announce that I'm doing this thing. I'm going to announce that there's like other ways women can be investing their assets or learning about how to navigate this new crypto world. And yeah, so I that's announced it anyway. April 2020, onboarded, I guess, my first cohort then, like public cohort in October, November of 2020. And then another one in spring of 2021. And then one this last fall. And so it just keeps growing and changing. But that's kind of like my journey and why I got into it. And then like why I felt very moved to do something like SheFi. I think it's like quite phenomenal that we have this whole new industry cropped up around democratizing finance in a new way. And you could be anywhere, anybody from anywhere. So just made a lot of sense to me to make sure that more people that aren't the first people to find tech had an opportunity to grow their wealth as well.
I love that so much. And do you remember what your first ever investment was in DeFi? Like what protocol you used or what platforms you were using?
Yeah, so my first investment was putting money in Compound. The cool thing about SheFi as well, like I did a bunch of trades on Uniswap. I was playing around with Instadapp. I opened a vault on Maker, right? So just by the fact that I like to include all the steps, like step 1, step 2. SheFi also was just a way for me to like gain that confidence and do the things I'm telling women to take a chance on. So yeah, Compound was my first. I deposited some DAI in there back in the day. Started off the course where like everybody would get DAI. and then use DAI and Compound. So that was like my first DeFi play, and I was like, oh, that was actually pretty easy, and like it's showing me right away the number goes up. I mean, it might be small, but it still goes up. And actually, I think my DAI is still in Compound. I haven't removed it yet. Which now at gas prices, I may just
Probably won't
wait a very long time to remove it.
Oh, I love this.
I guess for some reason we get into like a specific job role, or we go into like a specific work vertical, and we think like that's kind of it. Like that's, all I can do, even though like we read new books all the time, we read the news, we take in new information, we learn new things all the time. And I can learn DeFi, and I can learn what smart contracts are and what liquidity pools are, and like how interest rates are calculated, and like what to think about when you're taking out a loan. So I just think crypto's just like, because there's so much information coming out every day, you learn so much every day. And to me, I think that was maybe something when I first started my career, I didn't think would happen. Like you think kind of like you plateau, you become an expert, and like life kind of just is like standard, you are not like a cog, but it's like there's this becoming a manager, but like you kind of do the same thing. Whereas like crypto's like, oh, I get to stay on top of everything all the time. And like, I can stay on top of it. Like I can learn what the technical aspects and the financial aspects. And so that's really what I want like women to know is like, there's no age at which you stop being able to learn about money. You just need time and like to keep reading things and to keep taking information and to ask questions and to just like keep surrounding yourself with it, I guess. And then like you get to keep learning new things your entire life, which I think is like pretty exciting.
You surround yourself with it your whole life, your whole career, and it just takes that, initiative to get started. It really resonates. And is there a person or a company in this space right now that inspires you, and why?
Ooh, that's a great question. I mean, I think I'm always pretty amazed at what people are accomplishing daily. I think that in terms of, there's a lot, but things that inspire me is like Como Rebi, so right, the investment fund, because they're solving like a huge problem, which is like the financial part of it, right? And I think there's like many things we need to solve in order to empower women and non-binary folks and people that, don't have as advantageous situations. And so like education is definitely one part of it. Making sure they have capital is another part of it. Access to information is another, all these things, right? So they all really inspire me. And they're also just like really like outstanding human beings. And so I very much like look up to them. Other organizations, I really like the Crypto Coven NFT project, and they're doing a lot with like fan fiction and storytelling. And that's kind of something I mentioned a little bit earlier. I'm super passionate about. Like, I think the world will be onboarded through stories and narratives. And I'm a big sci-fi and bit of a witchy type of nerd person. So I'm just really excited to see like what they do there. I'm also a very big fan of Pool Suite, which is another community that did this like NFT membership drop really well. So the Pool Suite is like a suite of, it's more of like a lifestyle brand, I guess. It's centered around music. It's centered around this like, and they have some products called Vacation, but it's kind of like a social DAO, I would say, like social collective that I actually followed their platform for a long time because I'm a big music person. I know I've been talking a lot about crypto. I also DJ, and I also very much I think it's about curating vibes for an experience where someone could feel the way I do when I listen to a really great song I get excited about. And I think there's going to be a lot of, I think dance culture already has a very strong way of stitching together communities, bringing people together for IRL events. Like all these DAOs we're seeing now around like Web3 baddies, there's My BFF, there's Eve, there's Investera, there's, SheFi. In general, I just, like, we honestly, like, we were not having conversations about women and non-binary folks focused organizations like 2 years ago. And so I think it's just really important to keep growing that pie and keep growing these spaces and letting people find, join all of them or join some of them, like whatever it is that makes the most sense for people. But we definitely need like as many hands on deck as possible. And I think just the fact that we can talk about these things, uh, because we are bringing in more women and people, is really positive, because it just, Julia Rosenberg, who's the founder of Forca, which is DAO infrastructure, is really incredible, like powerhouse, gets things done. I like wonderful, like not only like builder, but really good at like gathering community. She did like so much in Brooklyn this summer. Ria, who's an investor at Castle Island, Aditi, who's doing product at Celestia. I really think the list, Daniel Sorio and Melly Anderson, who are building on near blockchain now. Like, I just think I've just always inspired, man, it's like the whole Komorebi crew, just like Nancy, Kinjal, Eva Wu, Meta's amazing. The whole She's 256 group's amazing. Meta and Sarah and all of them. So I just think it's very fun to, be surrounded by so many. Oh, I guess Rahila Zafar is executive producing this like crazy, incredible NFT documentary, which is really exciting, called Minted. So yeah, I think the list just goes on and on of like, I'm also, inspired by my male counterparts too. But I guess there's Eva Balin and Tegan at the Graph, which is the Graph protocol. Yaniv, that whole team's really good. But yeah, I think in general, there's like a lot of people building and, whether it's development or marketing or business or setting up organizations and running them, that are just doing like really incredible jobs. And just also, Meltem, obviously, also at CoinShares, is an amazing inspiration. Everything she does. Connect. I could just go on.
You go on and on forever. I know.
Yeah. So
I don't want to miss them either, because they're all so incredible. It leads me to just want to ask, like, what advice you would give to somebody getting started who maybe doesn't have those networks yet, if they're wanting to get started in building those connections, that exposure, and even as they think about potentially even joining and moving into that part of their career, not just investing, but investing in their time as well.
Yeah. So, a couple of things I would say is, if you can, and it makes sense, there's like some type of Ethereum or crypto meetup. We live in a multi-protocol world now. Like in your city, that's a great place to meet people. If it's a more organized event, like I love all of the events attached to the hackathons, because you get to spend a lot of time with like builders and community organizers. And if like an event is not feasible financially, I think trying to find like your local meetup. A lot of these organizations have meetups all the time, and like Ethereum is where it is today because of people who like went to meetups in their local cities, right? So I think that's one way. I think another really good way to think about getting started is following some of the news outlets like the Defiant or Bankless. A16Z has their crypto canon, which is kind of a good place to start learning about some of these topics. Follow SheFi on .crypto on Instagram. But also when it comes to working in crypto, founders are messaging me all the time. Now you can go to a crypto company and you can do marketing, you can do business, you can do finance, you can do growth, you can do, kind of any, if you want to get that skill or you have that skill, you can contribute it to a crypto company hiring or a DAO. And like, if it doesn't work out, the general world and career acceptance of crypto means that like, it's not going to look like a bad like smirk on your resume. And I think people still really like worry about like that, like the reputation they're building with their career choices. So like, I think now it's kind of like, you're getting the skill set at like a reputable company. It's no longer this like, what is this weird niche of the internet, even though we're still small. And I think like joining, like the She 256 Discord, Eve Wealth Discord, there's Crypto Boys Club as well now, right? They have a Discord, just kind of like starting to see where those things are. And just kind of find Maddox is a good DeFi learning portal. Apply for SheFi if you want to learn, but if that doesn't happen immediately, like don't let that stop you from looking for a role. I think people are very willing to take on people without crypto background, because it's like no one has like, only very few people have like 5 to 6 years of crypto experience, and that crypto experience in some type of organized way. We all wish we had found Bitcoin in 2011, but that's a very small fraction of the population. So it's okay if you found crypto yesterday.
Totally agree with what you said of, there's so many initiatives and so many places to get started and just brilliant resources.
Yes, awesome. Thanks so much again for having me. And I'll give you my socials. My DMs are open, all that good stuff. I try to be as accessible as possible. So yeah, this was a great conversation. Thanks for the time to chat, and have a great rest of your day. And same with your community.